So to be completely transparent, my friends and I have a weird obsession with this movie. Like when we would see trailers and everything, we would be super excited about Moonfall.
Yeah.
Happy to report it exceeded my expectations of the type of movie I knew I was getting into. And so I wanted to know like what drew you into this kind of movie, which we all like these weird action movies that we know are going to be outlandish, but also are great.
Yeah. What drew me to this movie, one, is, you know, I've had posters on my wall of just these types, like saving the world, like Will Smith type of like movie. Like I just think that they're so much fun, and especially I've been following Roland Emmerich since I was a kid. And so when I got the opportunity to be a part of this film and this world, and especially with actors that I watched growing up, like Halle Berry and just Patrick Wilson, and then like these new people that are coming on board, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, and well, what's interesting is if you think of like Independence Day in particular, uh Halle Berry is kind of the Will Smith role, and you were kind of like the Vivica A. Fox role. Like you're the woman who's just sitting there like, oh, I'm gonna be strong, but like my partner is the one up in space. And it's really fun to see that flip where it's Doug's kind of just stuck there the
Yeah.
entire movie, and he's like, I can't really do anything until like we do get to see a big moment for him, but it's very fun to see that that is dedicated to a man in this movie versus how it normally would. Was that something that was just built in, or like did you kind of get to be like, oh no, I think he would be the kind of guy who would want to make sure he was supporting uh, his ex-wife who was trying to save the world?
It was two elements actually. One of the things that happened is we were filming this film during COVID, and so 2 weeks, of course, before you have to quarantine. And one thing that really tied me and I wanted to dive into was their divorce. And so I really felt that I wanted to tap into that while I was there. So I literally just brought my script and my computer and nothing else. So like bring it like a Netflix stick or something. One of these things so you can do something while you're in this room, trapped and not able to leave to even take out the trash. And so they put in a gym in the second bedroom. So literally for 5 to 6 hours a day, I'm working out. And I needed to get to a point that life was hard and you couldn't ask for help. And so I had to use that distinction. And then I realized, well, if you couldn't ask for help, the only people that you can get help from are the people that you're around most of the day, which is your work. And that's what really created this separation. So one of the things I was able to play with, especially, was the fact that for him to be in this situation, he had to have worked extremely hard and focused on work, and at that same time had to be calm in a lot of these situations where everybody else was freaking out. And so at that point, do I trust that she'll save the day? I hope, but mainly it's the love with Halle Berry's character, Joe Fowler, that I really just wanted to hold that together and keep her safe and my son safe at the same time.
Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned COVID. How is it different filming an action movie in COVID? Because normally there are these big movies with huge casts and big spectacles and stuff like that, but I'm sure protocols make that a lot harder.
Well, with that, it's a little tough because I only know what I know. Especially in regards to the first time working with Roland. But they had COVID protocols and with testing, and we had massive scenes, and we had large amounts of cast and background that were there shooting. One of the great things is my scenes are more in the practical element, not in the huge like sci-fi. So we were able to almost recreate my scenes how they look like on the screen. So with the CGI and the practicals, it was it's tough to say with COVID. It's really tough to say because
Yeah, well,
it was just more protocols more than anything
yeah.
else. Yeah.
One, it is interesting you said that because it's like, yeah, this movie does have like these huge sci-fi elements versus like your character is kind of just like in a bunker the majority of the time. And then there's also like Michael Pena's like in a house. Like it's like the sci-fi elements it was fun watching because it was two distinct movies. It was like, hi, I'm in space, and hello, this is a disaster movie and we're trying to all protect the ones we love.
Yeah.
And so like when you kind of toe the line between the two because you are dealing with the more like space stuff as well as being on that practical side. How is that as an actor kind of towing that and being like, yes, this is a very serious thing, but I'm also talking about like the moon is falling and I have to like justify the moon coming down.
um, that's where imagination really comes in.
Yeah.
What would you do if the moon was coming? Like what would you try to do? And I think, especially with my character's very A-type personality, and he's just like, and it comes with me with sports as well. Is like you just have to try to accomplish the goal, and that's it. At the end of the day, it could be coming, and if it's on you, then you have to be able to let fear not hit you. And it's funny that the fear that actually hit him wasn't the moon; it was the fear of almost losing his wife and son.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because I think the reason this movie works is because the cast sells it. Like you have a cast selling the fact that like, yeah, we're in fear of the moon falling on us because I truly loved one scene where the moon is just coming at them and looks like a villain coming at them. And I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen for that shot. Because I was like, it rules and it's a movie that doesn't take itself more seriously than it is. It understands what it is and it works really well. And how much of that was Roland's vision and like working with him versus like everyone understanding the kind of fun action movie you guys were making during the creation of it?
Well, like, again, Roland is an absolute visionary, and he has a proven track record. So of course
Mm-hmm.
you put a lot of faith into him, and then especially on set, like I put a lot of my questions in regards to my character and how this is going to look through him as well. But at the same time, there's also collaboration. He gives you this space that you can play with, and anything inside of there is realistic. So as long as you have those parameters, you could really kind of go anywhere with it.
Like you obviously have worked in like it's not sci-fi, but you've worked in like a fandom genre because you've been in Inhumans. You have this like what is so much fun about kind of working in that space where it's like surreal in a way because we haven't experienced the moon falling on us, but like it's realistic, but also not at the same time.
Um, for me, it's sports. I came from sports, so I just really
Mhm.
love the physical aspects of this genre. Like with Inhumans, like look, this dude easily could have played football and just dominated. And for me, just always finding ways to connect back to sports that I no longer do anymore is so much fun. And also in regards to these big sci-fi elements with CGI and explosions and you're jumping off of this or swimming through that. It's like when do you ever have the chance to do this? And when do you have the chance to do it where like in the movie, like my knee doesn't give out because I'm 37 years old and just getting old. Like my body is more indestructible in the movie than it is in real life.
Well, yeah, and it's very fun because like the scene where they're like in the car and the like world is basically breaking and they're like it's fun. And you mentioned sports, which is it's a very Meisner idea of like connecting back to the things you know. And so with your character in particular, he's worried about his entire family while having all these stakes on him at the same time. What how did you said you did the like work when you were in quarantine, but what other elements did you kind of bring in for those moments where like he's worried about his son and there's nothing he can really do that we get to see very briefly, like when they flash into the why can't I think of the name of the thing that he is in?
Bunker? Which one? Which one?
Yeah, the bunker. It was bunker.
The
Bunker. I
thing
was
with
like, the
this,
doors.
with the sliding doors and
I
then
was like,
people
the doors
people
shut.
clapping side by side.
Because I was thinking, especially like when the doors are shutting and he is standing there looking at it, like knowing his kid's not making it. Like that moment in particular, I was like, oh, like this guy is like terrified for everyone else who isn't there with him.
Yeah,
But then I just could only remember the doors.
that was closing. And
The doors closing.
I think that's where like the more grounded elements of just performance comes in. because at the end of the day, this is a relationship movie in certain aspects. It's people that are trying to connect with, usually with me, my son, with Michael Pena's character, and even Patrick Wilson's character, like their son with Charlie Plummer. They're all trying to connect with family, and they've put other priorities in front of the things that they're supposed to love and care about every single day. And for me, it was really cool examining the fact that my character is always playing catch up in regards to speaking with his son, or even trying to have a positive connection, because he put work so much in front. And I think even with me now, is like I try to put work so much in front that, like, do are there situations where I could talk to my mom more, or friends more, and push it to the side? Because at that in the movie, they have about, you know, I think it starts off with a few weeks or something. What would you say? What would you do?
Yeah.
How would you respond? And just really tapping into that.
Yeah, and I like what you said, because I do think that the core of this movie and what's so interesting about it is all of those relationships. Like it breaks through the outlandishness of the moon falling, because you care about like Patrick Wilson and Halle Berry making it back, because you're like, oh, but their families, or like people taking oh my god, his name is Sam from Game of Thrones, but like taking him seriously, like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I always like to ask, as a final question, with a movie like this, what do you hope audiences take away when they get to see Moonfall?
Well, for one thing, I just want them to have a blast. Like, that's one thing. Just like, especially with COVID and being indoors, like, we need this. We need that, like, just like that breakaway escapism, and just have a time to sit back and just enjoy the movie theaters. And second off, I just want them to really. I always love science fiction because you have the opportunity to ask questions in a world that's been created. So it's like, so what if the moon is whatever it is? Or I was about to give a spoiler.
No spoilers.
I was about to say something. Like, if the thing of the moon is the thing of the moon, we can ask questions about the moon.
Can I ask about the moon? I was like, do not spoil it. I was so careful to not spoil this entire interview.
So I was like, stop yourself.
But yeah, I think audiences will. I absolutely loved this. This is exactly what I thought Moonfall was going to be, and I was so excited to watch this yesterday. And so thank you so much. I can't wait for audiences to get to see it.
Super excited too.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.